All right, Matt 2, here we go. We got lesson 1.3.1, angle pair relationships. So this should be pretty familiar stuff from last year. So we're just a lot of review going on here, and we'll kind of take some next steps as we see going on these lessons forward. So this is a starting point here. So complementary angles. Complementary angles are two angles that are adjacent to each other whose sum, well, not adjacent. They're two angles whose sum is 90 degrees. Now they can be adjacent like this one. See, these two angles are adjacent because they share a side right here. So we call those adjacent, but complementary angles don't have to be right next to each other like that. All they have to do is have a sum of 90 degrees. So it's just two angles with the sum of 90 degrees. Now these particular ones are adjacent complementary angles because they share this side here. And I can tell that they're complementary because they both add up to 90. So this one plus this one is 90. It says here if angle CBD is 76. Let's see where CBD is. CBD. So we're talking about that angle right there. They're saying that that angle is 76 degrees. And they want us to find ABC. ABC is this other angle over here, ABC. All right, so those are the two adjacent complementary angles. So if I want to find out what that is, all I have to do is say x plus 76 equals 90 degrees. And so I can subtract 76 from both sides of the equation, and I end up with the measurement of angle ABC equals, oh, I forgot to do this part, x equals, what's that, 14? So the measurement of angle ABC is 14 degrees. There we go. All right, next one, supplementary angles. Now their sum is 180. Now here I've got supplementary angles that are adjacent to each other. And when they're adjacent, these two angles are called linear pairs because together they make a straight line. So this pair of angles here makes a straight line. So when adjacent, they have a special name. And when they're adjacent, we call them linear pairs. So it says the angle LMP, LMP. So we're talking about this angle here. If that angle is 62 degrees, find PMN, PMN. We're looking for this angle here. Okay, so same thing, except now they're adding up to 180 degrees because a straight line has 180 degrees in it. So I would just say x plus 62 equals 180. I'd subtract 62 from both sides, and I'd end up with 118. So I now know that the measurement of angle PMN is equal to 118 degrees. Sweet. Vertical angles. Vertical angles are non-adjacent angles when two lines are crossing each other. So these two lines are crossing each other. Non-adjacent means they're not right next to each other. Because if they're adjacent, these two are linear pairs. So those are adjacent angles. And then these two are linear pairs. So non-adjacent would be like this X one and the one across from it. So vertical angles are when we have two lines cross. Two lines intersect, I guess would be a better word. Two lines intersect. And they are the non-adjacent angles. Now, anytime that we have vertical angles are congruent. This is a phrase we're going to use a lot throughout the year. Vertical angles are congruent, meaning they have the same measurement. That's what congruent means. So here we've got x is 23, so I know this one is 23 degrees. It says find the measurement of angle AEC. AEC is this angle over here. So AEC, that is not a vertical angle. That's like this one up here. It's a linear pair. They're supplementary to each other. So if I'm looking for that, I would say the measurement of angle AEC plus this angle here that's 23, those should be linear pairs, which add up to, their sum is 180 degrees. So if I subtract 23 from both sides, I found out that the measurement of angle AEC is supposed to be 157 degrees. All right, what about angle CEB? So CEB, we're talking about this angle down here. Now that is vertical angles with this one. So those two are vertical angles. So to do the measurement of angle CEB, we said it's vertical angles with this one, and vertical angles are congruent, which means they're both 23 degrees. So this is 23 degrees. So if we worked out this thing, these two angles would be 23 degrees, and then this angle over here and this angle over here are vertical angles, and they would both be 157. And it works out because they're all linear pairs, so that's 180, these two are 180, these two are 180, these two are 180. Everything's 180 adjacent, and non-adjacent, they're congruent to each other. In part C, what is the relationship of the congruent angles? The congruent angles are vertical angles and the non-congruent angles, so non-congruent, are linear pairs. All right, so we're going to do a proof that proves that the vertical angles are always going to be congruent to each other. Now, proof is something where we use a conjecture, and when we have a conjecture, we think something's right, and then when we prove it, it becomes like a theorem that is like a law of math. So a conjecture is something we think is right, and then we try to prove that mathematically. And if we can prove it mathematically, that conjecture becomes a theorem. And a theorem is something we can always use in math because we know that it's true all the time. So if I were doing a conjecture and a theorem for this one, we've done flowchart proofs before. So let's say that I am going to try to prove that B and C are congruent. Let's just start with what we're given. We are given that B and C are vertical angles. And let's try to prove that vertical angles are congruent. All right, so here's how we would do this. First thing that I would say is, well, I know that A and B are linear pairs, and linear pairs are supplementary. So I know that A plus B is 180 degrees. Okay, I know that for a fact because linear pairs are supplementary. Linear pairs, supplementary. I'm just going to say sup. There we go. I also know that A and C are linear pairs. So I'm going to say that A plus C equals 180 degrees. And the reasoning behind that is the same. Linear pairs are supplementary. Linear pairs sup. All right, so I've got A plus B equals 180, A plus C equals 180. Now the next thing that I can say is since this is equal to 180 and this is equal to 180, these two parts must be equal to each other. A plus B must be the same as A plus C because they're both equal to 180. So my next step is I'm going to say that A plus B equals A plus C. Now you might call that substitution. We plugged in A plus B, or we plugged in A plus C into this 180, but technically it's called the transitive property. But so you might say transitive if you've heard of that before, or you might just call that the substitution property. Transitive is just a type of substitution. Substitution. So that's the reason why I was allowed to do that. I was substituting, and this is a special type of substitution called transitive property. Transitive property is just when you have two things equal to the same thing. So this is equal to 180, and this is equal to 180. So if two things are equal to the same thing, the transitive property says they're equal to each other. So A plus B must be equal to A plus C. The last thing I can do is I can now say that B is equal to C. How can I say that B is equal to C? I can subtract A from both sides. If I subtract A from both sides, the A's go away, and now I found that B is equal to C. B and C are vertical angles. I've just proven vertical angles are congruent. So I use the subtraction property. And since we didn't use numbers and we used letters instead, this proves that it always works, because I could have started with any numbers, and this, showing the variables work down here, means that any number could have been plugged in, and therefore it has to work all the time. What transformation could we use to prove that these vertical angles are congruent? So if we decide to do transformations instead, we might rotate 180 degrees. So like if you rotate around the center, you could prove that. A rotation of 180 degrees. So if we rotated this, we would see that C is directly on top of B. We might even reflect. So if we do a reflection over a line that goes directly through the middle of A, and we reflect those, we'd see that B was on top of C and C is on top of B. So we would reflect over a line that cuts A in half. All right, we are almost done. Back page. All right, so now we just have some practice problems with these. So first one, what is the measurement of angle MNP? So I am looking for MNP. I want this angle right there. Well, first thing I need to know is what X is. So I look at the type of relationship I have. These two are linear pairs, so I know that these two add up to 180. So I'm going to write an equation first. 7x plus 3x equals 180. Because these are linear pairs, and linear pairs are supplementary, so they add up to 180. So I get 10x is equal to 180. Divide both sides by 10, and I get x is equal to 18. Now I'm looking for the measurement of angle MNP. So to find the measurement of angle MNP, I know that that is 3x. Now that I know that x is 18, I do 3 times 18. And 3 times 18 is 54. So now I know that the measurement of angle MNP is 54. So I have to solve for x and then substitute into the original equation for that one. All right, next one. What is the measurement of angle FGH? So FGH. So we're talking about this bottom angle here. So again, I'm going to have to solve for x first, and now we need to look for a relationship. Are they complementary? Do they add up to 90? No. Are they supplementary? Do they add up to 180? No. But I do know, since they have angle marks here, that these two angles are the same measurement. So if they're the same measurement, that means that 4x minus 5 should equal 3x plus 2. So I'll subtract 3x from both sides and get x minus 5 equals 2. I'll add 5 to both sides and get x is equal to 7. I'm not quite there yet. I'm looking for the measurement of FGH. So the measurement of angle FGH is 3x plus 2. I just found out that x was 7, so this is 3 times 7 plus 2. So this is 21 plus 2. 21 plus 2 is 23. So the measurement of angle FGH is 23 degrees. 2 more. All right, next one. These are complementary angles because these are adjacent angles and they're adding up to this 90-degree angle. So using triangle sum theorem, these two should add up to the entire angle, which is 90. We're looking for DBC. DBC is that angle right there. So I want the x plus 7 angle. First, I have to find out what x is. So I know they're complementary. They're going to add up to 90. So this is 2x minus 4 plus x plus 7 equals 90. Combine my like terms of 2x and x, and I would get 3x. Combine my like terms of negative 4 and 7, and I would get 3. Now I'm going to use the subtraction property of equality and subtract 3 from both sides. I get 3x is equal to 87. Divide both sides by 3, and x is equal to 29. I'm not done because the problem says, what's the measurement of angle DBC? So now I have to plug in x for this one right here. So the measurement of angle DBC is equal to x. We just found out that x was 29, so 29 plus 7. And 29 plus 7, we can add those two numbers together, and we get the measurement of angle DBC is 36 degrees. Sweet. We're almost there. Last one. All right, next, what is the measurement of angle NPM? NPM, that angle right there. All right, so that angle right there is vertical angles with this one. But here's the problem that we have right now. If this one is x plus 28, because that one's x plus 28, if I set x plus 28 equal to x plus 28, I'm not going to be able to solve that. Everything's going to cancel out. So instead, I'm going to have to use this angle over here and use linear pairs with this one. Since these are the same, I can't get the value of x from that. So I'm going to have to use linear pairs here instead. Remember, linear pairs are supplementary. So I'm going to say that x plus 28. So this angle plus this angle is 180 degrees. So this gives me 2x plus 28 is equal to 180. I'm going to subtract 28 from both sides and get 2x is equal to 152. And then divide by 2 on both sides and get x is equal to 76. All right. I now know that the angle I'm looking for, that the x is 76. Now this angle we said was the same as this one. So angle NMP, measurement of angle NPM. Wow. It's going to be x plus 28. So that means it's going to be 76 plus 28. And 76 plus 28 is 104. So we've got the measurement of angle NPM is 104. And we are done. All right, guys, math hard. See you guys later. Bye-bye.